What do you get when you mix one blood oath-fueled Carthaginian genius, a few thousand Gauls, and a squad of war elephants? The Second Punic War, a 17-year slugfest where Rome nearly lost it all but somehow came out stronger than ever. Today, we're covering the whole insane ride, from Hannibal crossing the Alps to the final clash at Zama. Buckle up. It's going to be brutal, bloody, and weirdly inspirational. Hannibal off the leash. Our story begins in 219 BC at the Spanish city of Saguntum. Rome swore to protect it, Hannibal swore to destroy it, and 8 months later, Saguntum was rubble. Rome demanded Carthage hand over Hannibal. Carthage basically said, "Yeah, no." And just like that, the Second Punic War was on. Now, here's where Hannibal earns his mad genius badge. Instead of sitting tight in Spain or defending North Africa, he goes for the unthinkable. March straight into Italy, through Gaul, through the Alps, in winter, with elephants. The march was hell on earth. Tribes ambushed them, snow and ice shredded morale, men froze, and by the end, Hannibal had lost tens of thousands of troops. But here's the kicker. He made it. Out of the mountains came a hardened army, scarred and hungry for blood. Rome had no idea what was about to hit them. Their first taste came at the river Ticinus, where Hannibal's cavalry danced circles around Roman scouts. Then, at Trebia, Hannibal baited an overeager consul into charging across an icy river at dawn with half-starved troops. Surprise, surprise! Rome lost another 25,000 men. Ouch. Rome gets rocked. By now, Hannibal was like, let's keep the party going. In 217 BC, he pulled another stunt. Instead of marching straight at Rome, he dragged his army through a swamp so disgusting that soldiers drowned in their sleep, animals rotted in the muck, and Hannibal himself lost an eye to infection. Did that stop him? Nope. He rode an elephant through the swamp like a one-eyed action hero. This trick put him behind Roman lines, and Consul Flaminius panicked. He marched to intercept Hannibal at Lake Trasimene, only to blunder into one of the biggest ambushes in history. The Carthaginians came crashing down from the hills, cavalry blocked the exits, and the lake swallowed fleeing men whole. 40,000 Romans went in, 10,000 came out. Flaminius didn't. At this point, Rome looked finished. But instead of collapsing, they pulled out a constitutional cheat code: dictatorship. Enter Quintus Fabius Maximus, nicknamed the Delayer. His brilliant plan? Don't fight Hannibal. Just shadow him, cut off supplies, and bleed him dry. Romans hated it. No glory, no epic battles, just waiting. Hannibal mocked him by burning everything except Fabius's land. Whisper campaigns claimed Fabius was a traitor, and the Senate nearly stripped him of command. But here's the thing. Fabius was right. His patience kept Rome alive while Hannibal stomped around Italy. Cannae, Rome's worst nightmare. Patience only works if your politicians buy into it, and Rome's didn't. In 216 BC, new consul Gaius Terentius Varro promised to stop cowardice and finally crush Hannibal. So, Rome raised the largest army in its history, 80,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, and marched to the tiny village of Cannae. Bad idea. Hannibal picked the battlefield, wide open plains, perfect for his cavalry. He arranged his army in a crescent, tempting Rome's giant block of infantry to smash forward. At first it worked. Hannibal's center bent under pressure, but that was the plan. As the Romans pushed deeper, his African infantry slammed the flanks, while his cavalry looped around to hit the rear. What happened next was slaughter. Encircled, suffocating, and helpless, the Romans were cut down. By nightfall, up to 70,000 Romans were dead, including a consul, senators, and much of the Republic's leadership. Carthage poured out 6,000 Roman rings on the Senate floor as proof of victory. This should have been the knockout blow. But Rome didn't quit. They refused ransom for captured soldiers, rebuilt legions with teenagers and slaves, and dug in for a long war. Hannibal had dealt Rome its worst defeat ever, but not its last. Rome strikes back. After Cannae, Hannibal expected allies to flood his camp. Some cities defected, but Rome cracked down hard. Any city that switched sides was punished brutally, sending a clear message: stick with Hannibal and you're toast. Meanwhile, Rome was busy elsewhere. In Sicily, Carthage teamed up with Syracuse, whose defenses were designed by none other than Archimedes, the math wizard. He created war machines that yanked ships out of the water, and maybe even mirrors that burned sails. For 2 years, Rome struggled. But eventually Syracuse fell, Archimedes was killed, despite orders to spare him, and Sicily was back in Roman hands. Rome also blocked Carthage's allies in Greece, keeping Macedon's king Philip V too busy to help Hannibal. And while all this was happening, a young Roman commander was making waves in Spain. Scipio rises Publius Cornelius Scipio, just in his 20s, wasn't supposed to be Rome's savior. But after watching his father and uncle die in Spain, he stepped up. And he didn't fight like a typical Roman general. Scipio studied Hannibal's playbook and borrowed his tricks. He used ambushes, deception, surprise attacks, and, shockingly for a Roman, treated locals with respect. His daring capture of New Carthage in a single day stunned everyone. Then, at the Battle of Ilipa, he outmaneuvered a much larger Carthaginian force with a last-minute line swap, turning certain defeat into total victory. By 206 BC, Spain, Carthage's treasure chest and manpower source, was gone. Hannibal was now isolated in Italy, cut off from reinforcements. The final showdown at Zama with Spain secure and Sicily under control, Rome was ready to take the fight to Africa. Scipio sailed across with a fresh army and a new ally, Numidian cavalry, once Hannibal's greatest weapon, now Rome's secret edge. In Africa, Scipio shredded Carthaginian forces, forcing the Senate to recall Hannibal after 16 years in Italy. Imagine the scene. Hannibal Barca, the man who terrified Rome for nearly 2 decades, finally standing face-to-face with Scipio Africanus, the rising star who learned from him. In 202 BC at Zama, it all came down to one final battle. Hannibal opened with elephants, but Scipio cleverly left lanes in his formation, letting the beasts run harmlessly through before turning them into oversized kebabs. The infantry fight raged, Hannibal's veterans holding strong. But when Rome's cavalry returned from routing Carthage's horsemen, they slammed into Hannibal's rear. Encirclement, irony. Hannibal, the master of traps, was caught in one himself. His army was destroyed. Hannibal escaped, but the war was over. Aftermath: Carthage surrendered. They lost Spain, their fleet, their independence in foreign policy, and any chance of rivaling Rome again. Hannibal went into exile, advising Rome's enemies until his death. Scipio returned home as a hero, earning the name Africanus. Rome had gone from near annihilation at Cannae to total victory at Zama. The lesson? Rome was too stubborn to die. And yet, suspicion of Carthage never faded. For decades after, one Roman senator ended every speech with the same phrase: Carthage must be destroyed. So there you have it. 17 years of chaos, genius, and stubborn defiance. The Second Punic War. From elephants in the Alps to Hannibal's final defeat at Zama, this was the war that made Rome unstoppable. If you love this story of strategy, betrayal, and comeback victories, hit that subscribe button. Because Rome's story doesn't end here. This was just the beginning of their empire.